What very often happens in families is there are two levels of communication that develop. Those issues that you can talk about because they're safe, and those issues that you wanted to talk about but it was not safe.
Hello, I'm Dan Richards. Welcome to Money Insights. This is one of a number of conversations I'm having with Lee Hausner, formerly senior psychologist with the Beverly Hills School District. And Lee, we've had several conversations here related to your new book, The Legacy Family, Creating Success Across Generations. In previous conversations, we talked about the importance of creating a sense of responsibility, of realistic expectations. What other behaviors on the part of parents do you believe are critical to create that successful multi-generational family?
Communication. Probably the most important thing that families need to learn and need to understand and build skills in is communication, because that is the glue that binds all relationships. And what I have learned is you grow up in a family and you learn how to talk, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you learn how to communicate. Because what very often happens in families is there are two levels of communication that develop. Those issues that you can talk about because they're safe, and those issues that you wanted to talk about but it was not safe. So they get shoved in the psychological gunny sack. Now you get married, and that person that you get married to brings in other communication patterns. So unless a family really pays attention to some of the effective techniques that are learned, they don't develop that communication glue.
So it sounds like you need conscious strategies, and communication doesn't necessarily happen on its own.
It doesn't happen. For example, listening. Listening is the most important way in which you validate an individual. Now, successful parents, there's a dichotomy, because when you're successful, you're the boss. You're used to talking. And you're very comfortable talking, and you got a lot of power talking. I do a lot of public speaking. And I often stand in front of the group and I say, who is perceived to have power here? And everyone says, you are. And I say, the only difference is because I got the microphone. When you come back into your family, you cannot be the talker. You need to be the listener. And there's a whole body language with listening to a child. You know, first of all, you got to get eye level. You're not listening when you're standing up and they're down low. But the most important thing about listening is this mouth has to be closed. And you have to be able to make it safe for children to talk. So learning how to truly listen becomes a real important art. Now, the way that gets applied within the family is I am a huge believer in family meetings. No successful business runs without meetings. So you can't run the business of the family without meetings. So in the primary family, at least on a monthly basis, you have a scheduled meeting. And you sit down at the meeting and there's an agenda and you talk about what's working in our family, where are our challenges. You can use the family meeting to plan the weekend, to plan a family vacation, let the kids be involved, to talk about your philanthropy. And when the family now becomes an extended family, if you don't want to make the in-laws outlaws, you have larger family meetings so that they get a chance to understand the dynamics of this family and you get to understand what's important to them. And the same idea of having an agendas and working on building a model of how we communicate effectively. How do I talk to you when I'm angry? What's the effective way of my being able to express what is bothering me? Because when I'm angry, what I really want is a change in behavior. How do I do that in such a way that you don't just become defensive and passive aggressive? That's learned behavior. There's so much information that is available on effective communication, that's one of the learning tools that really, if a family wants to be successful, they have to immerse themselves on learning how to handle that in a more efficient way.
And final question, Lee. So let's suppose that you've got someone watching this and they say, oh, you know what, this whole idea of a family meeting sounds like a reasonable idea, but you know, my kids are now well into their teens, and we aren't communicating very effectively right now. So how would you raise this? How would you put this on the table that's going to get buy-in from the kids, that's going to have them feel engaged and involved in this process?
The way, if you have adolescents, and parents have to realize that there's a period of time where you've lost your intelligence. you're going to become very stupid. You're not going to know anything. But the good thing is, by the time they're 20, you suddenly regain it. But if that was happening as a parent, I would sit my family down and say, you know, our family is not working as effectively as we wanted to. I'm not feeling good, and I realize, Mike, you and Susan, you're probably not feeling good either, and there's a strain that's developed. We're going to start to have some family meetings so we can actually talk about this. We're going to sit down on a monthly basis. We're going to have an agenda. You can put items on the agenda, and we're going to talk about how to build a more effective family. And each one of us gets to chair the meeting. So it's not mom and dad running the family meeting. You empower them. And they have to take responsibility for contributing to agenda items. And you have to make sure that that is a safe place. You can't pretend that it's going to be safe. And when they criticize you, you suddenly burst into a fury. And you model the fact that that they are so important, and that you are so concerned with staying connected and really understanding where they're coming from and sharing with them where you're coming from, that you want to start these family meetings. That's how you get it going.
Lee, thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.